Good afternoon and welcome to the ISC's learning sessions. Today we're excited to have a great new technology we're going to be showing you with our partner Motorola. But first, let's go through a couple housekeeping slides. First, audio is being broadcast using the VoIP technology through your computer speakers or headset. Please make sure your speakers or headsets are turned on and the volume is turned up. Audience microphones have been muted. If you experience any difficulties, please contact us at ISC support at webinars@isc.org or via the chat function to the top right. Chats, Q&A, and handout buttons are on the top right. You can see that we do have handouts for today's webinar, so please click on that at some point and download those from our host. Also, we want you to encourage you to ask questions in the Q&A tab. Remind you about some upcoming ISC events in 2024. We have our Volunteer Combination Officer Symposium in the Sun, November 14 through 16, and Technology Summit International is on the way to Oklahoma City this year, December 4th and 6th. In 2025, we have our Wildland Urban Interface Conference in Kansas City, our Fire Rescue Med in Las Vegas, and our Community Risk Reduction Leadership Conference in Glendale, Arizona. Please check on those and attend those. You'll see a lot of great information, all great presenters, and great technologies. We want to thank our sponsor today, Motorola Solutions, for this webinar and bringing us their latest technologies. Again, our panelists will go through those here in just a second. I'm Jeff Dillon with the International Association of Fire Chiefs, and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. Recording and survey links will be sent to you post the webinar, also along with a brief survey about today's experience. Please let us know about your experience. Thank you very much for joining us. And now we'll kick it off. I'm here today with Motorola Solutions to introduce a new and innovative tool for firefighters called SmartIncident. I'm excited to be joined by two distinguished panelists, Matt Botha and Harrison Wilson. Matt is the Solution Sales Specialist Manager at Motorola Solutions, leading a team of focused and delivering cutting-edge communication solutions for public safety. With a strong background in sales and technology, he has successfully driven initiatives that enhance customer engagement and satisfaction. Additionally, Matt is a fire lieutenant and instructor with the Plantation Fire Department. Harrison Wilson is a senior technical specialist at Motorola Solutions, specializing in software platforms and tools that enhance operational efficiency and user experience. With 6 years of experience in product development, he's dedicated to delivering innovative solutions that empower public safety departments to leverage technology effectively. Harrison is also a volunteer firefighter with the Rockville Fire Department. Together, they'll help us explore how SmartIncident can enhance your operational effectiveness, streamline communication, and ultimately improve safety in the field. During our session today, we'll dive into the app's key features, share success stories from fellow firefighters, and provide a live demo on just how it works. I encourage everyone to engage with us. Ask your questions, share your thoughts in the chat, and let's make this an interactive experience as we all learn together how to harness the power of technology for our vital mission. Okay, so let's get started with SmartIncident. Matt and Harrison, take it away.
Well, first, thank you first and foremost for having us on the webinar today. We are happy to be here and to talk about some of the latest technology that we're launching into the fire service. Before I jump into what exactly SmartIncident is, I'm just going to do a recap on a couple of our devices, the Apex Next and the Apex Next XE, which is our fire version of that solution, and then the Apex Next XN, which is the NFPA 1802 certified version of the Apex Next radio. On that device, we have an LTE chipset and your LMR chipset. So you have the ability to connect to both styles of networks. And also on the device, we run a series of applications, some that can automatically switch between your LMR network and your broadband network so that communications are extended no matter where you are, as long as you have a signal on one of the two styles of communication. One of the new applications that we're launching on the Apex Next series of radios and the Apex N70 devices is an application called SmartIncident. Well, what is it? It's essentially integrating your CAD functionality and similar functions that you have on your MDTs and in your vehicles and extending that out to the responder in the field when they've stepped away from that style of apparatus. So running a thin CAD client on your Apex Next device is what SmartIncident is essentially doing. And that will do things like give your responders access to dispatch information, to premise and hazard information, to CAD comments, to the map, so that they can see which units are nearby or which units are still responding, that and much more. And so we're happy to introduce it to all of the attendees on the call, and we can show you a little bit about it throughout the webinar today. So. All right. One of the things that we're going to show you today are some of the benefits and how that can help out with fire service operations. And so first, what we like to discuss is not changing the way that your firefighters, your first responders, your EMTs, and paramedics are using their radios today, right? So we're not going to force the user to change how they go en route, how they go on scene, how they provide updates. However, some of those features and functions that you may traditionally do with voice can now be offloaded to the app itself, right on the screen of the device. So changing your status of the device, or accessing pertinent building information is something that you'll be able to see on the actual screen of the device. And that will do a couple of things. It'll streamline communications. So I'm sure you can all picture a large multi-alarm incident that you've responded to recently. And usually when we're assigning units to large-scale incidents, such as structure fires or commercial structure fires, everyone tends to go on scene, right, at the same time. And that can really congest your dispatch channel or your tactical fireground channels. And what SmartIncident will do will allow your responders to offload some of those functions to the application, to your MDT, and to see the status of other units that are responding to that scene as well. And so what I'd like to do is I'm gonna show on my screen here a web client of one of our CAD tools here that we have at Motorola Solutions, and that's Premier One, and this is a web version of this client. And what I do is I already have a CAD call created for a structure fire here in my city, but what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll create another incident here in a completely different city and a completely different area of the country, and that's at the Hancock Tower in Chicago. And what I can do is I can just populate, a call with a generic callback number and say there's a fire in the server room, and generate a structure fire in a commercial building. That's a priority 1. It's being called in by security in the northeast area of the city, and it came in via 911. Call's been created. Now what I can do is I can start assigning units just like you would normally do in your dispatch center. And in this case, I'll assign one of the radios that I have here in the room with me today. And what that'll do is automatically the map here on the screen gets refocused to that. I can see nearby units to the incident location. So I can additionally, I can assign those units to the call if I need to as well. And then I can now, once the unit's been assigned, I'm sure a few of you heard that chirp, I can actually see on the screen, on the map of my device, call information, premise and hazard information about that building. If there's access information, like the location of the Knox box key or even a gate access code, now all of that information is available at a glance right on my hip when I've stepped away from the vehicle. So I'm sure we're all used to MDTs and computers and tablets in your apparatus providing that, but there are certainly scenarios where you've stepped away and you've either forgotten that access code or you need to remember the apartment number. Now you can, instead of asking dispatch or tying up radio traffic on what could traditionally be a very congested radio channel, you can offload a lot of that information onto the device itself. And that's what we're doing here with SmartIncident. So not only can I see premise and hazard information, but as a part of your premise and hazard information, you can now load multimedia. So things like blueprints for each floor of the building, things like video. If you've captured, if someone sent in a video, or if you've captured with security cameras in the dispatch center, you can now attach that to the incident at hand, or pre-assign it to premise and hazard information. And what does that really mean? Well, that means that anyone who's assigned to that incident can now view that multimedia right on their device. So if I've attached blueprints and layouts of building, whether it's a convention center or in this case, the Hancock Center on North Michigan Avenue, now I can tell exactly where that conference room is just by looking at the attached multimedia on the Apex Next XE or Apex Next XN device. So saving seconds and improving, the operations for your firefighters out in the field. This is just a brief demonstration of what SmartIncident is. There's certainly a lot more functionality to come, and a lot more we're excited to bring to the fire market in particular. But I'll pause there just to see what you all might have to add, or if Harrison has anything he'd like to touch on around technology and how we're implementing that with our CAD solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it might be a good chance right now to hand it back to Jeff. Are there any things we can touch on or any questions we can help you and the IFC team answer?
Yeah, so one of the things is, how does this differ from the traditional incident response systems? And then also the primary benefits of this system. Can you just go back those touch points of how this expanded technology in the hands of first responders, not having to go back and type the dispatchers, how that's a benefit out there in the field?
So certainly, I'm sure we're all aware of MDTs and voicing out your status on the channel, right? And congestion is something that we're constantly battling in the radio service, especially when it comes to voice traffic on very large incidents. And that's primarily what we're looking to offload onto broadband networks with the functions and functionality within the SmartIncident application. That's probably the primary benefit that you're going to find is you're able to change your status faster, quicker, have it reflected in your records more appropriately and more accurately, so that your response time as an agency can get cut down. If, for example, you have multiple units who can't find time on the air to change their status. So now they'll be able to do that right on either their MDT if they want to continue doing that, or if they've even stepped away from the truck because things were so congested, they can do it right on the device themselves. Now, some of the other secondary benefits are giving responders that at a glance incident information on their Apex Next device. And again, that's giving you things that you don't have to ask the dispatcher for, ask an ETA of another responding unit if you've requested EMS. Now you'll be able to see right on the map, right on the CAD map on your device where those EMS units are. Or if you forgot the apartment number, or if you forgot access information. Now you can just reference that right on the device instead of having to walk back to the vehicle and look at your MDT, or again, ask the dispatcher and tie up radio channels for that. Those would be the primary benefits for fire and EMS.
And those are big ones. We all know the workload that dispatchers are on. We know how congested radio channels on the ops channels get. This is a great feature. A question too. So we saw you answering the as it chirped there, and you respond back to it. That's instantaneous. Everybody's seeing that information flow back and forth two-way instantaneously, which is a big plus for those units that might just be getting on scene or still yet to arrive. They are seeing real-time updates to the scene without actually having to listen to it over the radio or from the dispatcher. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the primary functions that we're looking to do. Dispatchers have a very hard time keeping up with the amount of responders that they have to keep track of during a shift, and allowing an additional way for your responders to make some of those functions come to fruition is something that we can offload and allow dispatchers to be more efficient in their operations. And so, yeah, definitely who would benefit the most from SmartIncident? It'll be the dispatch center, right? Because now you're getting more accurate, more information about what each of your responders are doing and what they're actually represented of doing in your CAD system, right? And a lot of that can be offloaded onto the device. Now, again, just back to the original premise, we don't necessarily need to change your operations. Everything can continue functioning the way that your agency is currently performing those functions. So if a user does say on scene, well, the dispatcher can change the status on scene, and that will also get reflected on the SmartIncident app, because all SmartIncident is it's a thin CAD client for your CAD system. It's just adding to your overall CAD ecosystem. So if the status is changed on the MDT, it'll get reflected on SmartIncident and in the CAD system back in dispatch. Same thing if it was changed on the radio over voice or by tapping on the screen. It joins the overall CAD solution to extend the range of the solution away from the vehicle.
Gotcha. Great. Hey, we got a couple questions here. Corey's asking, hey, what CAD systems does this work with currently?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're launching this with Premier One CAD integration. So Premier One is one of the multiple CAD offerings from Motorola Solutions directly integrated into the product. However, because not everybody has Premier One CAD, we will be offering an API that allows other systems vendors to integrate with Premier One. As part of this, with SmartIncident. As part of this, there is a launch of a developer program. And so you can go to Motorola Solutions website right now to find more about the Command Central developer program. There's even a free tier now, so you can develop against our APIs without incurring any cost if you're looking to integrate this into a third-party solution that may not be from Motorola Solutions. But as of right now, Premier One CAD is our initial offering, with those third-party vendor support to be coming later this year.
Great. So let me ask you this. We see this, and this looks very highly technical. Tell us about the training that's required for the end users to be able to use this, both on the dispatcher side, but also in the field.
So that's a great question. And again, we are trying not to change the way that your firefighters operate, your EMTs and paramedics operate on the field. If they want to continue using your Apex devices and your radios the way that they've always done, they can continue to do that. However, some of those functions could be offloaded to the application itself. And so I think it would be mainly training around that additional functionality that SmartIncident would bring to your first responders. How do they access the map, right? What information could they get from the map? How would they change their status, and how would they perform the various functions within the application? However, most of the remaining technology around SmartIncident, or the way that your radios will work, stays the same, right? Well, you won't have to change the way that a user is using their radio when they're on scene of a structure fire or a major incident. This is just something that could be used to give your responders additional clarity or context about the incident at hand.
Gotcha. What other apps that y'all have that firefighters should be know about that fit hand in hand with SmartIncident?
So that's also a good question. So as I mentioned, SmartIncident is one of the apps on our Apex Next series, and our Apex Next XE, Apex Next XN. And there's a few other applications. One of those is that automatic switching service that goes between your radio system and the LTE networks. In this case, in the United States, that would be either FirstNet or Verizon, depending on the carrier you choose when you order the device. And that Smart Connect service is by far one of our most popular ones, because the first responder doesn't have to do anything. They don't have to do a knife switch on the channel. They don't have to change the channel. The radio will automatically detect when it goes into an area of poor coverage, and it will revert and switch over to the FirstNet connection or the Verizon connection, or even a Wi-Fi connection, depending on what has the best signal strength in that area of poor LMR coverage, right? So Smart Connect is by far the one that most of our agencies have been asking us about on Apex Next devices. And then next comes our location and tracking solution. So traditional GPS, right? We can transmit your coordinates over the radio network, but radio networks tend to be narrow band, right? You can't really send a lot of information over those types of systems outside of your voice traffic, right? So polling large fleets of devices, or even the people who've been assigned to an incident, if you have dozens of responders who are heading to a large structure fire, you really can only poll that amount of users at a very slow cadence rate, maybe longer than once per minute or once every couple minutes. And that doesn't really give an incident commander or even a dispatch center real-time situational awareness information about their responders that are on the field. Well, one of the other applications and solutions that we've launched onto Apex Next is Smart Locate. So we can offload that GPS and location information from the radio system off again to the LTE networks like Verizon or FirstNet, right? And that gives us a much larger broadband pipe that we can leverage to send many more coordinates for a much larger fleet of radios more rapidly at a much more frequent cadence, so that the dots on the map look more real time instead of jumping from location to location around that device. And then that mapping technology that we can ingest and populate in CAD, now we can unlock the map for responders to actually see on their device, so that they can see the incident location, they can see other responders who are around them at the incident. The incident commander, if he has a Next device and he steps away from his commander vehicle and the battalion chief's vehicle, he can see that information right now on the device when he stepped away. The other amazing thing about mapping technologies is you all have your own maps, right, in your cities, and you've probably created layers in Esri, and all of that information can be loaded into the mapping technology so that your city-specific mapping information can also populate on the map of the device. So those are three of the probably most powerful ones that we have within the device. On top of SmartIncident would be Smart Connect, which is that voice roaming service, the Smart Locate technology, which allows you to pull many more responders much more frequently, and then Smart Mapping, which allows you to view all of your mapping information right on the Apex Next device itself.
That's great. And Matt, you said something in there that really caught my ear, but the integration with other technologies such as Esri is very important in today's world for fire departments. Y'all both know it. We don't want to have to log into 3 or 4 different systems. We want to be able to share data between systems seamlessly behind the scene, where we don't have to worry about it. We know the data we see here is the same data we're seeing over there. So I applaud you for that. That's a great innovation there. Harrison, can you talk about a use case that you see from this technology, or have one that you've seen already that would really explain the true impact that this has on firefighter safety?
Yeah, so I think one of the big ones for me personally, at Rockville, I find myself on the fire engine a lot of times, but we run a lot of medical. We are a EMS, or a fire-based EMS service. And so for me, when we get to those multi-unit dwellings, apartment buildings, garden apartments, things like that, and then you get out of the rig, it's 2 a.m, you're bleary-eyed, having to remember the access code that was on the MDT screwed and bolted to the fire apparatus, or the apartment number itself, or the unit number itself, being able to just quickly pull out my device and see that information is incredibly helpful. But then also that premise and hazard information Matt spoke about. So not only do I have potentially access to Knox gate codes, things like that. Hey, where is the Knox box? Where are the fire department connections, without having to run back to the rig? This past Monday, we ran a structure fire at my department, and we needed to find a secondary water source because we had a hydrant problem. Being able to have a custom Esri layer that had all of my hydrants near me would have been way easier than having to run and find a piece of apparatus that had the MDT up and running and had those hydrant locations available.
Wow. Yeah, that's very powerful. And those premise notes you mentioned, Harrison, I mean, we live and die sometimes by the information that we collect, but sometimes we don't have time to use it en route to the call. By the time we're getting there in 2 or 3 minutes, and so we don't have time to read all that. So having it in the palm of your hand really accentuates the capabilities of utilizing that information from pre-plans or from owner-supplied information. Can you talk a little bit about how you get information into that from the scene, if you wanted to adjust or update information?
Well, any information from the scene, you have the ability to send comments back to the dispatcher. So if for some reason typing is better suited, obviously, yes, we are primarily trained to use voice communications, and voice communications is going to be the manner in which we communicate. I think that's, are going to be our primary mechanism, but we also have the ability to text, maybe or on a slower moving call, voice channels are tied up, I can text message back. But at the same time, for like my agency, we have call takers that will remain on the line that are separate from our fire dispatchers. So they may be continuing to get information that can come back to me. So being able to have that two-way conversation, maybe ask a quick question, say, hey, can you ask the caller this? And the call taker sees it quicker than the dispatcher can receive the information, shout across the room, relay that information back to the person on the phone with the 911 caller is incredibly powerful. And then, of course, all those simple things that we've done for years, but maybe some agencies have not been able to take advantage of or not previously leveraged. So status changes, right? You just want to say you're on scene. You've gotten off the rig. You're like, crap, I forgot to press the button on the MDT. I've gotten off the rig. Being able to just say, I'm on scene directly from the device. That's usually better, right? You're not tying up a voice channel. A dispatcher's not having to take what you just said and type that in. They're busy. A lot of our dispatch centers are understaffed, have positions open, things like that, and they're already doing a lot of activities. So being able to manually take those basic actions, especially on more routine calls, is incredibly powerful for us.
Wow. Yeah, that's good. And too, when we look at these technologies, some people think that it's really beyond their capabilities to use. It's too much. But actually, the way that you've developed this, and I'd like to hear more about this, is when you developed this, you developed it thinking about the firefighter on the scene at 2 o'clock in the morning. Can you talk to us a little bit about how, when you developed this process, you looked at all the functions that need to be done and how you incorporated that?
Yeah, certainly we can do that. We have met with departments all across North America, US and Canada combined, and even internationally in countries around the world, when it came to the development, not only of SmartIncident, but of the Apex Next radio, all in its own. And again, time and time again, we heard the concept, keep it simple, right? Don't change what we're doing, right? Like, let us fight fire. That's what we need to do. And really, that's what our focus was. We wanted to enhance the ruggedness of the device. We wanted to enhance the accessibility of the device. And one of the ways that we enhanced accessibility was with, as Harrison alluded to, voice control, or the ability to change functions and features on the radio using a new virtual assistant, which is on the Apex Next devices, called Vicky, right? And Vicky gives you the ability to, if you know you're going to, another fireground channel, that channel isn't in your normal primary zone on the radio, you can't remember which switches or functions to adjust on the radio itself. Now you can simply just say the channel name to your voice assistant via a new button that's embedded in the speaker grill, and you can say channel TAC 7, right? And the radio will do all of the necessary functions, whether it's changing your zone, whether it's changing, the channel knob, directly to that channel, so that you can reduce the amount of time and complexity of getting to the appropriate talk group to interoperate with everyone who's on the fireground. The other thing that we are looking to enhance, right, is more around accessibility. So right now, with SmartIncident, status changes are still physical presses on the screen of the device. Whether you want to change your primary status or you want to go en route, on scene, and adjust that. So that's using the actual app on the device. But one of the things we're most definitely looking into the future is leveraging that voice assistant so that you can make those status changes without having to pull the radio off your hip, especially if you've stepped away from the apparatus and you're walking towards a major incident, right? Now, imagine a world, right, where you could leverage your voice assistant in the speaker mic and just say, status on scene, and then channel TAC 7, right? And then the radio can change your status, and then it can also switch to that tactical channel, right? A pretty powerful story where it's not necessarily changing the way that your agency operates. You're still switching to a tactical channel. You're still changing your status, whether you say en route or on scene, but you're offloading some of that functionality to the device. And by far, that was probably the biggest feedback item, Chief, that we heard was, don't change what we're doing. Keep it as simple as possible and make it more streamlined so we can do it faster.
Yeah, and anything we can do to make it easier on the firefighters on the scene to accomplish what they need to accomplish is definitely a benefit. Talk to me a little bit about is there a possibility of incorporating things like Maydays in there or urgent messages, things like that in the future? I mean, what do you see coming down the road as enhancements or taking this to the next level?
Well, with our newer series of devices and the technology and the platform that we've built into our latest mission critical devices, the sky is really the limit, right? It's just the amount of time how long it's going to take us to actually deliver solutions like what you just mentioned, right? Where we could detect things that are said on said talk group or said channel, right? Could we do functions if something were called out on that channel, right? Those are definitely solutions that we are looking into and that people in the fire service are even helping us with. And one of our biggest selling points with Apex Next is that it is, the latest and cutting edge technology. We only have a limited number of applications on the device right now, and we have the ability to load a whole lot more into the future. So as your agency's needs grow, or as things change or adjust over time, the radio can grow and change with you over time. And again, as I mentioned, it wasn't just designed for accessibility. It was also designed with ruggedness and performance chief of mind. So we're expecting these devices to remain in the field for a very long time. And we're expecting a lot more things to be available on those radios a few years from now than what might be available in the world of today.
Wow, that's awesome to look to the future, be thinking about what the possibilities are. I mean, a lot of times as firefighters, we think about, well, that's not going to be possible. Well, the way technology is evolving now, I mean, what seems impossible today is possible in a year. And so, Harrison, can you kind of talk about how this is going to influence the future of firefighting and emergency response as a whole?
That's a funny question to always get asked that, just because, especially in the American Fire Service, we're, years of tradition, and we go through academies where we're trained to adapt and overcome when we don't have these technologies or don't have some of these tools at our disposal, right? We still have paper maps in our fire apparatus. We still have to learn how to communicate on voice channels using or in lieu of items we would normally do on our mobile data terminals. But with some of this stuff, I think it helps with operational efficiency. So getting our responders to the scene quicker. So our 911 callers, our primary customers as citizens when we're firefighters, those people are able to get the help quicker. But then for incident command, having a lot more information at their disposal, being able to have the situational awareness of where their responders are located and where they're operating, especially when you're talking about a wide area incident like wildfires and natural disasters. We've seen recently that there's been massive technology improvements in terms of backhaul communication. So areas we used to say, hey, that's a cellular dead zone, we've now got satellite-based communication technologies and other things that are starting to come into the fold and are being considered. So we will continue to develop tools that can take advantage of that, so that during our 99.999% of the time when all these tools are operating at their best and they're functioning as they should, we're able to leverage them to do our jobs better, get to the citizens and those that need our help as firefighters first, get them there quick, and then from there being able to also just the day-to-day stuff. I think that's kind of a big one for me. So not all the departments have a big budget to be able to put mobile data terminals in every single piece of apparatus, brush trucks, tankers, those things you probably don't pull out of the stations as often. Being able to have basically an MDT in your pocket, even if it's at a slimmer set of functions and capabilities, is going to be pretty powerful for those sorts of use cases too. Just keeping the air clear, focusing on the mission at hand, and being able to work together without having to go back and forth, ask questions, but also have those insights before you have to ask the question of, hey, where are you?
Right. And going back to the responses that you give back into it, you're seeing all that visually too on a screen in the CAD or out of the CAD system. And how important is it for us really to integrate the existing Motorola capabilities with this new capability to paint a full picture? Because the voice recognition of Vicky really changes the game on what we can transmit and share, across not just radio channels, but now if you're connecting to the broadband, FirstNet or Verizon or whoever, think about the amount of data information that can be shared real time. Can you talk just a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I can take that one. That is by far what we've been asked the most. Is we started with interoperability with radio systems, right? How do we connect? How can I talk to my neighbor? How can I talk to the county over, right? And now we're getting into mapping technology and seeing units on the map, and then we're layering in more information, right? That like sensor information, weather information, right? You have your neighbor who has their complete ecosystem, and then you have yours. And one of that's exactly what we're now looking to unlock, is that seamless sharing of information between solutions, between your neighbors, so that not only your voice is interoperable between agencies, but if you want to unlock things like your unit location, your unit status, right? You want to allow certain functions and features to happen across the board, and even by your neighbors. That's something we're definitely looking to unlock, and that's something that the mapping solution that I have here on the screen would be helpful in that. You mentioned, how does SmartIncident fit into the overall ecosystem of solutions, right? So you can see right on the map, right where I have this incident location, there's a unit here. I can already see that their status is clear. So that gives me information as a dispatcher to say, well, I can assign them on another call. Or if their status was something like on scene or arrival, right? I know that they're tied up still on that incident, or I can prompt them to get more information about what their status is. And that can all happen without me saying a word on the radio channel, right? The status can be changed right on the device. I can see that in the dispatch center on the map, right? And I can see much more information about my responders without having to tie up that critical resource, which is voice traffic, and should be reserved for like the most critical of updates or events that occur out in the field.
And I'll quickly add on to that too. It's not just within our own ecosystems, it's with these third-party systems as well. So Premier One CAD for years, as an example, has had rapid SOS integration. So if you've ever had to fill out that little survey when you get a new iPhone or Android device about where your location is and things like that, we can now pull in that rapid SOS information. So things where we used to have to constantly call dispatch back and say, hey, can you give me the caller's location? They're going off of Annie Alley or legacy data that's based on what the cell provider has in terms of a Latin long, is now becoming, can I get a real-time breadcrumb trail of where this call taker is and where they're potentially moving? So for like our water rescue teams, they're constantly asking for what is the caller's what 3 words? Well, being able to pull that in and have that even as the what 3 words in a comment or maybe a map point, being able to pass along that information and having dispatchers who now by policy are trained to just put that information in there on initial dispatch or include it as part of the initial set of comments that come in the call. It's just saving time. It's one less thing that somebody has to think about, one less thing they have to remember to do. So leveraging these automations, even if it's not with our own ecosystem of products, is crazy beneficial for me.
Yeah, those are great benefits. And again, as the world's evolved the last 10 years or so with iPhones or smartphones or things like that, we're able to capture more data from our callers, the people in distress who need our services. And so, we in the future, we look to take advantage of that, use them as sensors, if you will, but also use them as tracking devices to find them, to help locate where they might be. But then also is maybe in the future actually able to ping them and say, hey, give me an update. Tell me what you see, what you hear, things like that. So I think the technology that you're looking at and you've developed here, like you said, Matt, has endless bounds going forward. It's just our imagination. What are the things that we as firefighters say we need to have or would be nice to have, and then let you smart fellows go off and, try and develop it? Because I think what you've got here has no ceiling right now, like you said. So we've got a few minutes left. I'd love for the audience to type in any questions up in the Q&A tab if you've got any there. And while we're waiting on that, just tell us how, is this readily available now? Can folks get demos?
Yeah, so we can certainly provide demos. I would have you contact your Motorola Solutions representative. This is available for quoting and order now. We will have to send someone out to evaluate, the CAD system that you're working on and the radio system that you're using, and then figure out what we would need to do to implement this in your agencies across the board. But this is, we just had Fire Rescue International recently. We had it available at our booth there, and we'll continue highlighting it at all of our events, especially at fire events, moving forward. And so we're extremely excited to bring a solution like this to market. Like you were mentioning, the sky is the limit. With that caveat that, you know, there's a balance there, right? We don't want to overburden firefighters or give them too much information where they're just not going to look at it. They're not going to take advantage of it. And that's some of the aspects that we've designed into SmartIncident. One of the examples of that is as the dispatcher or the call taker continues adding CAD notes to the call, it's not going to chirp every single time, you know, a note is added to the call. If the user wants to go and look at all the updates and notes, they can certainly go in and see the high priority comments and things that have been added to it. But we don't want to, you know, burden the guy who's trying to go in and rescue the person who's trapped in a structure or is trying to focus on the mission at hand. So yeah, certainly technology is endless here. But it is most definitely a balancing act, especially in the fire service and in EMS.
Great. Got a question here from Chris. Good afternoon. Great technology. Any plans to work with Central Square for an API?
So we have not had a specific list of vendors yet, but we are looking and working with vendors that are not just Motorola CAD solutions. And so as a quick reiteration from what I said earlier, initially this is going to be tied with Premier One CAD. And of course, the other family of Motorola computer-aided dispatch products will be included soon as well. So Command Central CAD, as well as the Flex products, or the Spillman Flex products, as some people know them. But on top of that, we have a developer program available. So those vendors can reach out and begin to develop against them. And there are tiers where there is no cost for them to begin that development. In the past, some of our products to integrate required licensing and other things. That is no longer the case in all circumstances. The charge will come basically out of the utilization of the product. So rather than having to paywall the APIs, those will be made available. I will say, though, the feature set and the more tight integration is with the Motorola products, of course. It does require that the other vendors, such as Central Square, Hexagon, and other vendors, develop against our APIs, and the API availability may slightly differ as time goes on.
Right. But you can't get it if you don't ask, right?
Exactly.
You know, sometimes we're hesitant because they can't do it today. It doesn't mean they can't do it tomorrow, though. So you got to ask, and we as the customers need to make sure that we're asking all of our vendors to, you know, consolidate, to bring into this matrix of a one world solution. And, you know, if we feel that this is a valuable tool for us, then we need to force our other vendors to kind of get on the bandwagon and help support it. So it's always good to hear that, you know, you're looking at it from a universal perspective, not just within your own family of products, but also external. But we as the fire chiefs out there need to help you do that as well. So we need to do our part. So we've got just a few minutes left. Harrison and Matt, any closing comments there from parting ways?
Mainly what I would say is thank you for taking the time out of the day to listen to the webinar. We know your time is important, and we are very happy that you were able to join and learn a little bit about what Motorola is doing to try to help you and your responders in the moments that matter. We know that your job is not easy. It's extremely stressful, and we want to try to make it a little bit easier and to allow you to do things faster and more efficiently. And that's what we're trying to highlight here today, and hopefully that resonated with you. Harrison, anything?
Yeah, I'll just quickly add, first of all, thank you for the time, but I will go on further to say an overarching theme of this webinar has definitely been there's a lot of technology out there, and we as firefighters and responders are still trying to understand and figure it out. And Motorola is as well, working with our customers to understand where we can see these benefits. So while we have sort of given some ideas of what we're looking at, things we're evaluating, it's always going to be great to get the feedback and always hear, is there something in the day-to-day life of not only those folks who are the first responders, but also if you work with your communications agencies, dispatch centers, what are the things that take the most time that we can help get off of their hands, get off of their plate, so we can focus on the job it is that we're doing. And it also prevents some of that human error. We're all humans. We all make mistakes. So anything we can do to leverage all of this technology to be able to automate our lives, I think is crazy powerful.
Good deal. Well, listen, thank you very much, both of y'all. Great presentation. I'm thoroughly impressed. Just a reminder about the upcoming events this year for the ISC conferences. And if you're one of these conferences, seek out Motorola and get them to do a demo for you and talk to them and give them your opinions about it, because they want your feedback. And I'm sure that you'll be very impressed when you see it in person. Thanks, everybody, for joining today for our webinar. Thank you, Motorola, for being a great sponsor of the ISC and helping us learn together. Thank you very much. And remember, the recording for this presentation will be sent to your email so you can download it to share with your friends and coworkers. Matt Harrison, thanks very much again, and see you on the other side.
Thank you.